welcome back to Privacy Professional Training. My name is Fumi Obalabi. Today's video, we're going to be talking about how I passed the CIPM exam and how you can too. So without further ado, let's talk about the steps that I took, how long it took me to study for the exam, and resources that I used in order to pass the test. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is before I even booked the exam, I went onto the official IAPP website to see what types of free resources they had to offer. So the first thing that I did was I took a look at the body of knowledge. That's really important, and that should be the first step for anybody taking the CIPM exam. So I took a look at the body of knowledge, and the reason this is really important is because the exam changes a lot. I took the exam a number of years back, so the body of knowledge, I presume, has changed. The IAPP, which is the association that regulates these examinations, they change the body of knowledge often to keep up to date with all of the updates with the privacy laws. So the first thing you should do is take a look at the body of knowledge. The second thing I did for the CIPM exam was I took a look at the glossary. Now, IAPP offers a glossary of all of the key terms that you might encounter as you're studying for the test. So that's really important for you to grasp the concepts before you even start to look at any of the materials. So I took a look at the glossary, and then I also was able to use the resource Scribed and Quizlet. So I always take a look at Quizlet because when I'm on the go or I have a spare like 10 to 15 minutes, I like to do flashcards. So when I go on my daily walks, I will use flashcards and I will look at the glossary terms. It's impossible to learn all of the key terms just from looking at the glossary that IAPP provides. So you can open Quizlet. I'll leave a link below to what Quizlet is, but basically it's a repository where other students have left different terminologies for different exams. Now, be very careful when you're picking the Quizlet terms or flashcards that you're going to use because some of the terms are outdated and reflect previous bodies of knowledge. So if you encounter a term in Quizlet when you're doing the flashcards and it's an archaic term or it's not something you've encountered, you should skip it because what it means is IAPP is no longer testing on that subject, and that does happen often. So after you've downloaded Quizlet and you've looked for flashcards, the next thing that I would do is I would buy the official IAPP book. Now, generally, you can find this on the IAPP website. There are other avenues where other students have uploaded the textbook to other platforms like Scribed, which is why I mentioned it earlier. Now, Scribed is a repository of like different resources. It's not exclusive to privacy, so you do need to do a little bit of digging around if you're going to be using Scribed as a resource. So if you type into Scribed CIPM, you'll see all of the resources that other students have uploaded. I utilize Scribed because I feel like just using the official textbook offered by IAPP sometimes doesn't give me as in-depth knowledge as I would like before I study for the exam. Now, I've talked about this in other videos, but basically, I generally will take between 2 to 3 months to study, and that's for the privacy exams. Now, for the security exams, it's a different ballgame because my area of expertise is generally privacy. But that being said, security and privacy work hand in hand, which is why I've also taken security examinations like the CISSP exam. So we can talk about that in a different video. This video is for the CIPM exam. So you can either buy the resource as a paperback from IAPP, or you can buy it as a ebook, which you can access. And generally for me, I prefer to buy the digital copy because my studies for my exams have always taken place in the morning before I start work. So I will buy the digital copy. When I wake up in the morning, I can just grab my iPad as opposed to grabbing a physical book and having to read that while I'm studying in the mornings. My methodology for passing these exams is first, read the IAPP official book through once. Don't spend time trying to learn the concepts at this stage. Just read the book through first because your brain is going to register the terms on the first instance. After I've read the book through one time, I will buy the IAPP official questions, and these numbers vary. When I took the CIPM exam, I'm pretty sure it was 50 questions that were available. Now, at this point in 2025, I'm not entirely sure how many questions the IAPP is offering, but I bought the questions. They were about $55. And then I went through the questions after my first review because that will give me a gauge of how well I understood the concepts from the official textbook. Now, something else that I implemented when I was studying for the CIPM exam is I bought an additional textbook. And that additional textbook is offered by Peter Gregory, I'm pretty sure. You can find it on Amazon. And the reason why I chose to buy two textbooks is because anytime I take the exams, I'm studying to win. I'm not studying to take the exam 2 or 3 times. I'm studying to take it one time. So it's better for me to buy as many resources up front so that when I take the exam, I know exactly what I'm getting into and I've prepared enough so that even if there are difficult questions, I'm able to master them during the test because the exam is really very short. You have a very limited amount of time to be able to answer the questions. So I bought an additional textbook. For this particular exam, CIPM, I took 3 months. So I had two textbooks. I went through the IAPP official resource first. I went through the 50 questions that they offered on their website. And then I started to read the second textbook that I bought off of Amazon. And that resource was really quite excellent. I personally feel like it went into great depth for key concepts that you need to master the CIPM exam. After I had taken and read that textbook, I then found additional questions on Scribed. So, what happens is every iteration of the body of knowledge, the IAPP will issue new exam questions. So, previous students had uploaded previous questions for the CIPM exam. I found those on Scribe, downloaded them, and took those questions. In addition to that, if you look on other resources like Udemy or Amazon, there are other privacy professionals that have created questions to help you with your studies. So you can choose to buy those. I personally was able to find enough free resources on Scribed, so the only additional resource that I purchased was the textbook. So on average, I like to take between 180 to 300 questions in terms of practice because the exam itself is 90 questions. If I've done 300 questions practice wise, then I've pretty much covered at least the 70% that's required to pass the test. So it's a numbers game for me. I look at making sure that each concept that I've learned is different. And every time I take those questions, my brain is registering what I've looked at. So I know the question the next time. So the next thing that I did was I paid for the examination. Now, at the time of paying for the exam, IAPP gives you up to a year to take the test. I prefer to buy the exam when I know I'm pretty much ready. So I will usually buy the exam a month before I actually take the exam. So I'll know that, let's say, for example, I'm taking the exam in April, I'll purchase the exam in March, and pretty much when I purchase it, I will book the test because that puts pressure on me. And I perform very well under pressure. After I booked the test, I started to create my own outline, which I always do, because the outline tells you how much your brain has registered. If there are gaps, you can go back to the textbook. But between the books that I bought, the questions that I took, and the outline that I created, I was able to pass the CIPM on the first try. So I really hope this video was helpful for you. If anybody in the US is looking for textbooks, I would be very happy to send the books that I still have. Now, I have friends and other privacy professionals that have asked me for resources in the past. If you are interested in a physical copy, I can send you what I have, and I'm quite happy to ship them to you if you're in the United States. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this type of content or you're looking for additional resources, take a look at the description below. I have plenty of resources that I created based on my insight in taking over 6 of these exams, and I will see you in another video.